I was just on Amazon the other day looking at of all things potato peelers,
Mm.
and it struck me how we've all got one right, but this particular listing, it was like it was speaking right to me, like I need to upgrade my potato peeler,
Right.
and it made me realize just how powerful a truly great Amazon listing can be. And that's what we're diving into today with this article. We've got Master Amazon Product Listings for Startup Success.
Yeah. It's so true. A truly compelling listing can really make or break your product. And the great thing about this article is that it goes beyond just, the basics.
Yeah.
It's really about strategy and psychology, understanding what makes someone click that buy now button, what
Yeah.
makes them actually want to purchase your product.
Absolutely. And they get right into it too. I feel like one of the hardest things is always pricing. Price it too low and people think it's cheap.
Right.
Price it too high and nobody buys it.
Yeah, it's a real balancing act. And I love how this article goes beyond that typical, find the sweet spot advice. They talk about this idea of start low grow, then adjust, which I think is really fascinating.
So unpack that a little bit for me. What's the thinking there?
So the article argues that when you're a startup, that initial customer base is really the most crucial thing.
Right.
Even if it means slightly lower profit margins at the very beginning,
Okay.
you're starting low to snag those early adopters
Yeah.
and, just as important to get those first few reviews.
Because reviews are everything on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
They're like, it's social proof
Exactly.
that your product is as good as you say it is.
Yeah, and it gets even more interesting than that because this strategy plays into like a psychological principle
Oh,
called the endowment effect.
okay.
So as customers become familiar with your product, through those early purchases, they start to value it more.
Interesting.
And then they're more likely to accept those price increases down the line.
Oh, wow. So you're not just undercutting the competition at that point. You're building value in the product. Like
Exactly.
almost like a name brand almost.
Exactly, from day one.
That's really interesting.
Now, on the other side of that same coin, the article also talks about this premium pricing with a discounts approach.
Okay.
And I know that sounds a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, lay it on me. I'm intrigued.
Basically, a higher initial price can actually signal to some shoppers that your product is higher quality.
Hmm.
And then you offer these strategic discounts to make it more palatable.
Oh, so you're creating that like exclusive deal kind of feeling, like,
So-
oh, I'm getting a steal on this.
Exactly. And there are ways to do this without, cheapening your brand.
Right.
The article suggests things like leveraging those Amazon coupons
Right.
because they can really grab attention in, this sea of products.
Wow, a little green badge will get me every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even a small discount like 5 or 10% can really impact your click-through rate
That's a good point. I think I do gravitate towards those.
because it feels like a mini reward
Yeah.
before you've even bought anything.
Yeah, and visually it just pops more, I think, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that plays into this bigger principle of visual appeal. You have to
Yeah.
grab attention in such a crowded marketplace.
Yeah. It's like they say in fashion, it's not enough to just be good. You got to look good on the rack, too.
Mhm.
And speaking of looking good, let's talk about product descriptions.
Yeah.
Because the article really gets into this whole art of, crafting a story around your product.
Yeah, this is where we move beyond, just features and benefits.
Right.
This is about really understanding your target audience
Mm-hmm.
and speaking to their needs and their desires,
Yeah.
maybe even their pain points.
So instead of saying, this potato peeler has an ergonomic handle,
Right.
you're saying, say goodbye to hand cramps.
Exactly.
This is effortless peeling.
Yeah, you're painting a picture for them.
Okay.
And the article even gives this great example.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you're selling organic tea.
Okay.
Instead of just listing out the ingredients, right?
Yeah.
Talk about, the small family farm where these tea leaves are grown.
Right.
The generations-old tradition behind this unique blend. The feeling of peace and tranquility you experience with every sip.
Yeah. You're selling an experience at that point,
Exactly.
not just a product.
It's a story.
So how do you balance that, though? Because obviously storytelling is important,
Yeah.
but we also need to think about SEO.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get those keywords in there.
It is a balancing act.
Yeah.
But you don't have to sacrifice good writing,
Right.
for SEO.
Yeah.
You can weave those keywords in naturally
Right.
so that it still reads well.
Yeah, like you're not just, keyword stuffing.
Exactly.
Like we've all seen those listings.
Yeah, you want to write for a human
Mm-hmm.
who just happens to have a really good search engine for a brain.
I like that.
Right.
So we've talked pricing, we've talked presentation, we've talked, persuasive writing. But this article doesn't stop there. They really emphasize this idea of the long game, continuous optimization.
Yes. Launching your product, it's just step one. The real work begins when you start analyzing its performance,
Yeah.
getting that customer feedback, and then being willing to adapt.
Okay, so you're not just setting it and forgetting it.
Right.
You've got to stay on top of it.
Exactly.
So what are some of the key things to be looking at in this long game?
Well, data is your best friend.
Okay.
You really want to keep a close eye on things like your sales figures, of course,
Right.
but also those conversion rates.
What does that mean exactly?
So how many people who landed on your page actually clicked buy now?
Oh, okay.
If
Well,
that number is low, that might mean your listing's just not compelling enough.
it's like having a storefront
Right.
and nobody's buying anything.
Exactly. They're walking in and walking right out.
Yeah.
And then there's your ACS, or advertising cost of sale.
Okay.
And this is super important if you're running Amazon ads,
Mm-hmm.
because a high ACS means your campaigns maybe aren't targeting the right keywords,
Okay.
or that your copy isn't converting.
So you got to keep an eye on that.
Yes, you're constantly looking for areas to improve.
Right. And it's not just about the numbers, though, right?
Right.
Because they talk about customer feedback, too.
Your reviews are so valuable, both good and bad.
Okay.
You want to pay attention to what people are saying,
Yeah.
what they love about your product,
Yeah.
what could be improved, what questions they have.
Right. It's like, yeah, you're right. It's like having that direct line to what
Mhm.
your customers are thinking, you know?
Exactly.
Instead of just like hoping that they fill out that little suggestion box.
Right, and then never looking at it.
Exactly.
But, and it's not enough to just collect these reviews.
Yeah.
You've got to engage with them.
Oh, interesting. Oh.
Respond to the questions, address the concerns, show people that you're listening.
Because that's huge, especially online,
Right.
right? Like you want to know that there's a human on the other end of that purchase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It builds trust, and that's huge when you're competing with, potentially thousands of other sellers,
Absolutely. So you can turn those negative reviews into a positive.
right? Sometimes a genuine response to a negative review can be more powerful than like a dozen,
Yeah.
glowing testimonials,
Oh, that's a good point.
because it shows that you care,
Yeah.
that you're committed to making things right.
It's more than just a transaction.
Exactly.
And that actually kind of brings us full circle here because the article ends by circling back to that idea of storytelling,
Yes.
which I thought was really interesting.
It's really all connected.
Yeah.
Because the most successful Amazon listings, they're not just product descriptions. They're narratives.
Okay, so how do you find that narrative, though?
Right. Like if you're selling something that's not inherently glamorous.
Yeah, because my potato peeler is great,
Right.
but it's not exactly, the thing that stories are made of.
Right. Well, you've got to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Think about the why behind your product.
Okay.
What inspired you to create it in the first place?
Okay.
What problem does it solve for your customer?
Yeah.
What makes it unique?
So for my potato peeler, maybe it's about,
Yeah.
making family dinners easier.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Spending less time prepping veggies, more time actually connecting with your loved ones.
Yeah, you're not just selling a peeler, you're selling a happier, more connected family meal.
That's a good point.
And that resonates with people
Absolutely.
on a much deeper level.
It's those little moments, right?
Exactly.
Because we've all been there.
We're hardwired for stories.
It's so true.
We remember them.
We connect with them.
We buy into them.
It's like that saying, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
There you go.
And finding that why is what makes a great Amazon listing.
It can really make all the difference.
So to all our listeners out there, ready to conquer the Amazon jungle,
Mm-hmm.
remember, it's not just about what you sell.
Right.
It's about the story you tell. Find that narrative, gold, make it shine, and watch your sales soar. Until next time on The Deep Dive, happy selling, everybody.